Are serial killers born or made? This chilling question has haunted criminologists, psychologists, and society at large for centuries. The debate remains unsettled. While some killers seem to emerge from abusive or traumatic upbringings, others hail from seemingly normal homes and privileged backgrounds. Perhaps the most disturbing truth is that the making of a serial killer is not a single cause but a confluence of factors. Nature and nurture dancing a twisted waltz. The following killers are not just murderers. They are case studies in psychological depravity and human monstrosity. Their actions defy comprehension. Their names strike fear and fascination. These are the darkest minds in history, 10 of the most deranged serial killers to ever live. So sit tight as we dive into today's mystery, and you will have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. 1. Ted Bundy, 1946 to 1989, the charming monster. With piercing eyes, a magnetic smile, and a calm demeanor, Ted Bundy shattered the stereotype of a typical serial killer. To the outside world, he was intelligent, articulate, and even affable, a law student with a bright future. But behind that polished exterior was a man capable of horrific savagery. Between 1974 and 1978, Bundy abducted, raped, and murdered at least 30 women across 7 states. His actual victim count is believed to be much higher. Bundy exploited his good looks and charm to lure victims, often feigning injury or asking for help near his 1968 Volkswagen Beetle, now eerily preserved at the Alcatraz East Crime Museum. His crimes were not only brutal but also deeply disturbing. Bundy practiced necrophilia and was known to decapitate his victims, keeping their heads as trophies. He defended himself in court during multiple trials, manipulating the media and public with the same charisma he once used on his victims. On January 24, 1989, Bundy was executed in Florida's electric chair, but his legacy endures, a chilling reminder that evil can wear a handsome face. 2. Andrei Chikatilo, 1936 to 1994, the Butcher of Rostov. Andrei Chikatilo, also known as the Rostov Ripper, committed crimes so gruesome they shocked an entire nation. Born in the famine-ridden USSR, Chikatilo was a top student but struggled with chronic impotence. This deep-rooted inadequacy festered into violent sexual rage. Over a span of 12 years, Chikatilo brutally murdered, mutilated, and sexually assaulted 52 women and children. He often stabbed his victims dozens of times and even removed organs, sometimes consuming parts of their bodies. For years, Soviet authorities failed to catch him, partly due to bureaucratic denial that such crimes could exist under communism. It wasn't until 1990, after years of stalking his prey in public places, that Chikatilo was finally apprehended. Under questioning by psychologist Alexander Buchanovsky, he broke down and confessed. In court, he described himself as a crazed wolf. On Valentine's Day, 1994, justice was served with a single bullet to the head. 3. Elizabeth Bathory, 1560 to 1614, the Blood Countess. Centuries before the term serial killer was coined, there was Countess Elizabeth Bathory, an aristocrat with a bloodlust that has become legend. Her title, wealth, and influence shielded her from justice for years. But behind the castle walls of Sejd, Bathory allegedly committed acts of unspeakable horror. According to testimony, Bathory tortured and murdered hundreds of young girls, often bathing in their blood in a deluded pursuit of eternal youth. Servants testified that she sewed mouths shut, burned genitals, and forced victims to eat each other. Though her accomplices were executed, Bathory herself was only confined to her castle, where she died 4 years later. Whether she was a sadistic noblewoman or the victim of a political conspiracy, the legend of the Blood Countess endures as one of history's most macabre mysteries. 4. Jeffrey Dahmer, 1960 to 1994, the Milwaukee Monster. Few names elicit such visceral disgust as Jeffrey Dahmer. His story is one of loneliness, compulsion, and absolute depravity. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer raped, murdered, and dismembered 17 men and boys. But his crimes didn't end at murder. Dahmer engaged in necrophilia, cannibalism, and the preservation of human body parts, including skulls and organs stored in his refrigerator. His aim? To create a submissive sex zombie, one victim at a time. His capture was as shocking as his crimes. In 1991, a would-be victim escaped and led police to Dahmer's apartment. What they found defied imagination: human remains, photographs, and evidence of unspeakable acts. Sentenced to 15 life terms, Dahmer met his end in prison when he was beaten to death by an inmate. His short-lived justice only scratches the surface of the horror he inflicted. 5. Gilles de Rais, 1404 to 1440, the original boogeyman. Before Jack the Ripper, before Bundy, there was Gilles de Rais, a knight, war hero, and aristocrat who fought alongside Joan of Arc. But beneath his polished armor lurked a monstrous predator. After retiring from military life, de Rais turned to the occult, reportedly sacrificing hundreds of children in pursuit of alchemical power. His crimes were masked by his nobility, but whispers grew louder. He was eventually tried, convicted, and hanged for the torture, sexual abuse, and murder of possibly 100 or more children. Today, he's remembered not as a hero of France, but as one of history's first documented serial killers. 6. Albert Fish, 1870 to 1936, the Gray Man. Albert Fish was not just a killer. He was a predator driven by pain, insanity, and perversion. Dubbed the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, and the Brooklyn Vampire, Fish claimed to have raped and eaten over 400 children. Only a handful of murders were confirmed, but the details were beyond horrific. In one infamous case, Fish sent a letter to the mother of Gracebud, describing in detail how he lured, murdered, and cannibalized her 10-year-old daughter. "It took me 9 days to eat her entire body," he wrote. Fish's trial revealed his extreme sadomasochism and delusions. He was executed in the electric chair in 1936, a device he reportedly looked forward to because he believed it would be the ultimate experience in pain. 7. Peter Neers, 1540 to 1581, the shape-shifting butcher. A dark figure of medieval German folklore, Peter Neers was feared as both man and monster. He confessed under torture to killing 544 people, including pregnant women whose fetuses he used in black magic rituals. Legend says he could shapeshift into animals and vanish into thin air. But these tales only magnified the truth. Neers led a gang of murderers and cannibals, traveling across Europe and leaving a trail of bodies. Captured in 1581, he endured 3 days of horrific torture before being executed by quartering. A fittingly gruesome end for a man so steeped in horror. 8. Harold Shipman, 1946 to 2004, the Doctor of Death. Dr. Harold Shipman betrayed the trust of hundreds of patients, killing them under the guise of care. Over a 2-decade career, Shipman is believed to have murdered over 250 people, mostly elderly women. Unlike most killers, Shipman didn't seek thrills, trophies, or headlines. His motive was chillingly banal: money and control. He altered wills to benefit from his victims' deaths, including forging one to make himself the heir of a wealthy patient. Convicted in 2000, Shipman was sentenced to life in prison. He hanged himself in 2004, taking with him the secrets of Britain's deadliest physician. 9. Jack the Ripper, 1888, unknown, the ghost of Whitechapel. Jack the Ripper remains the most notorious unidentified serial killer in history. In the fog-choked alleys of Victorian London, he murdered at least 5 women, all sex workers, with surgical precision. The Ripper's letters to police, such as the infamous From Hell note, taunted investigators and fueled a media frenzy. His crimes were the first to receive national press attention, sparking panic and speculation across England. Despite hundreds of theories and suspects, Jack's identity remains unknown, but his legacy lives on as the archetype of the faceless killer who lurks in the shadows. 10. Amelia Dyer, 1836 to 1896, the angel of death for babies. In the 19th century, Victorian England's poor turned to baby farmers. Women paid to adopt unwanted infants. But Amelia Dyer turned this practice into mass murder. A trained nurse, Dyer began by neglecting babies to death. But as her greed grew, she actively strangled hundreds of infants, disposing of their bodies in the Thames. Authorities suspect she killed over 400 children. She was finally caught when police found an infant's remains in a package floating in the river. A sting operation sealed her fate, and she was hanged in 1896 after a mere 5 minutes of jury deliberation. Final thoughts. Are they born or made? Each of these killers had different backgrounds, motivations, and methods. Some were products of abuse and trauma. Others emerged from privilege and power. Some were calculating, others chaotic. But what unites them is their complete detachment from empathy and their horrifying capacity to commit evil. The question remains, can we ever truly understand what makes a monster? Or is that understanding itself part of the darkness? Feel free to leave your comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more mysteries like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.